It's Tuesday, March 24, 2026. So, when I first started work in 2010, one of the first things I wanted to get right in my life was the best way to make coffee. I had been drinking coffee not long at that point. I didn't start drinking coffee, I think, until my senior year of college. And it was just the last semester. I was living at home in the suburbs for one semester, commuting into the University of Minnesota via bus. My dad had been a lifelong coffee drinker, so I figured, well, I might as well. And I've been addicted ever since. One of my favorite addictions, as inconvenient as any of them are. So, when I was first starting work and I had packed up all my stuff and moved down to Kansas City, I had to buy a lot of stuff, including a bed. I didn't have to buy a sofa, but it kind of filled up the completely empty apartment, TV, all that stuff. But coffee was one of those things that I don't think I did correct for quite a while. Um, Looking back, if I could tell my 21-year-old self how to do it a little better, I would recommend, well, I'd recommend what I'm using right now, and we'll get to that in a moment. In that time, I didn't use a drip coffee maker for most of it. I think I started with a Chemex or a French press, and third wave coffee was just beginning to be a thing in Kansas City. There were a couple of coffee shops. My personal favorite was Oddly Correct. There was another one called the Filling Station that was fun to stop by. And I think I had a morning coffee habit at a coffee shop up by the Briarcliff neighborhood where I was living for a year or so there as well. Fast forward, I used a lot of Chemex pour overs in my time, and it wasn't until I was living with my sister, probably 7 or 8 years ago now, and she brought her $20 Hamilton Beach automatic coffee maker. And eventually, I just ended up using that more often than not because it was a lot easier than any of the manual coffee preparation methods that I had used in that time. So when she moved out a couple of years ago, I think she left that coffee maker behind, and I'd been using that. But a couple of weeks ago, I really noticed that it was just wasn't doing what I needed it to do. The coffee I was getting was a bit more watery than I wanted it to be. And more than that, I think it was very, very slow. Typically, I think it had made a pot of coffee in, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes tops. But more recently, it's been taking 30 to 40 minutes to really get completely full. No change in the process, something up with the machine. I've cleaned it out several times. I've used vinegar. I've used sodium bicarbonate, which is, I think, an espresso machine cleaner. And I have taken the darn thing apart looking to see if something was clogged, because I have fairly hard water here, even though I run filtered water through the coffee machine. But I just could not diagnose what was causing it to have those problems. My suspicion at this point is that the heating element's a little bit bunk. And frankly, it's a $20 machine, so the practical solution, if I wanted to keep doing things that way, would be to, unfortunately, throw it away and just buy a new one. I did not do that. I considered it. I could order a new $20 coffee machine or head out to Target to use it, although I'm still trying not to shop at Target. Instead, I went for another manual coffee maker, one that I have not used too much to date, and I splurged a little bit. So the coffee maker I ended up going for, there were two models available at my local grocery store. One cost about 4 to 5 times as much as the other one, and frankly, they're both about exactly the same in terms of function. It's really just form that differed between the two. So I splurged. I spent the entire $12 and got myself a single cup pour over. The ceramic version, very fancy, as opposed to the plastic version, which was about $3. And it makes great coffee. Had to get myself a couple number 2 filters because I just had the basket filters from the coffee maker. But frankly, my coffee life is right again. And while I have traditionally drank about a pot of coffee a day, it's kind of nice to involve some manual work in there and just make one cup at a time. First of all, by making it all at once and being there while you're doing it, the water's hot, the immersion is good, and you're not like getting all the oils out up front and then having, cooler water drip through later when there's not much left to extract. That's how you end up with disappointing bean water. Instead, this makes one real good cup of coffee at a time. And if you want another cup of coffee later, well, you have to go through the effort of making another one, which frankly is probably good for me. I probably shouldn't be drinking quite as much as I typically do. And one more thing I would tell myself if I could go back in time, because I think it took me a bit of time to do it, more so than the coffee machine, in this case, it is a little thing you just put on top of your cup. It's got a hole in the bottom. You put a filter in the top. You have to drip water over it fairly regularly. And so the secret there is going to be a gooseneck kettle. It's a kettle that has kind of an S-shaped little neck to it rather than just a little short spout. And that allows you to have some control as you're dripping it over the grounds. The other thing that I would teach myself or tell myself if I could go back in time again, get a nice burr grinder. I've been using actually a very fancy burr grinder. I think that's $200+ or so. But I got that one as a gift probably at least 10 years ago, and it's been going strong ever since. Anyway, yeah, that's the keys to making a good cup of coffee.